Okay, today we are going to be reviewing for your first Photoshop test. And in order to take your first Photoshop test, you will need to have this image downloaded and loaded up in Photoshop. So here it is, big sunflower. And the very first task on the test is to duplicate the background layer. There are two ways you can do this. You can either drag the background layer down to the new layer icon, let go, and it will create a new layer for you. Or you can hold down Control and you can click Duplicate Layer and click OK, and you will have a duplicate layer. They both work exactly the same way and both are fine. Okay, so that's task 1. Task 2, use the Marquee Select tool to create a circular selection of the sunflower head on the top layer and jump that layer onto its own layer, jump that selection onto its own layer, then turn off the visibility of the two background layers. So it's really easy. You grab this, you start right about here, double check that your feather is set to 0, click, drag, let go, Command J, and there it is. And then we turn these two layers off, just like so. Then it asks us to lower the opacity of this newly created layer to 50%. You can do it using the slider, and if you get close to 50%, I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure you know where this slider is. Or you can actually key in 50%. For those of you who want to be exact, there we go. Then I want to know if you can delete a layer. I would click it, drag it to the trash. We'll go ahead and turn the other two on now. Okay, the next one, I'm on step 4. Use the lasso tool to create a freehand selection of the sunflower head with a feather of 20 pixels on the top layer. So let's do that. Lasso select. Check my feather is 20 pixels right here. And I will just go right ahead and do that. Okay, done. That is number 4. Number 5, put the selection under Quick Mask mode and erase an area. So we'll go into Quick Mask mode. I will click the eraser and I will take away part of the selection. And I'm going to ask you the question right here. Are you adding to the selection or are you subtracting from it? And you are adding to it because, as you know, these areas that are colored red are not selected. These areas that are colored normally are, and the erase tool will erase away the mask and make the selection bigger. Now, quick, important safety tip. This erase tool only works, and this paint tool only works, if these are set to black and white. If they're not, if somehow this is a shade of gray, just click right here and it will set them to black and white. Okay, so I'm moving on to number 6. While still in Quick Mask mode, use the paintbrush tool to decrease the selected area. So paintbrush tool, taking away, and I'm going to ask you, are you making the selection bigger or are you making it smaller? And the answer is, you're making the selection smaller. I will then come out from under the Quick Mask and we're back in the Marching Ants view. Now, this next thing I'm about to show you is something that you've not seen before. This is called saving a selection. It is possible in Photoshop, if you've been working on a selection for, say, 20 or 30 minutes and the bell's about to ring and you want to be able to load that selection up the next day, you go to Select and you go to Save Selection. That's right here. And it will give you this little dialog box, and we're going to type a name for that selection in. I will say flower. I will click OK. And if I drop that selection, I can then go to Select and I can go to Load Selection. I pull this pull down right here down to flower, and that selection is immediately loaded back up. Okay, now real quick side note, layers and saved selections. Saved selections are saved here in the channels tab. This is also where the color information lives. There's our save selection. It adds a new channel and saves basically a black and white to tell us what's selected and what's not. You only get saved selections and you only get layers if you save your file in a Photoshop format. That is, when you click Save As, you make sure it says Photoshop right here. Okay? If you save it as a JPEG, all of your layers and all of your save selections go away. So you have to save it as a Photoshop file to keep your layers and to keep your save selection. Okay, number 8 is load the save selection, show it to the teacher, and then deselect it or drop it. We just did that. Okay. Now, next one is we're going to use the color range select tool to select the green leaves. So here's the color range select. Let's make sure we're on a layer. There we go. It's under select, color range, and we're going to select the green leaves. Now you'll notice we have a lot of shades of green here. So I'm going to hold down my shift key and you'll see a little plus symbol appear right next to the eyedropper. And I'm going to start clicking on these different shades of green. We have dark green, we have light green. You can also click right here. Okay? And what we're looking for is we're looking for a nice clean edge on this selection. So shift is down. There we go. That's pretty much the way we want it to be. So when we click OK, and we can run the fuzziness slider up a little bit, we're just going to get more and more of the head. And we really don't care for that, so that's what we're looking for. Right about 50 should do it. We click OK. My leaves are selected. Part of the sunflower head is selected. That doesn't matter. And we're going to push that layer or jump that selection up onto its own layer with Command J. So there is the selection that we just made, okay, and pulled up onto its own layer. Okay. Now that was number 10. Use Command J to copy the leaf selection onto its own layer. And we're going to add a black and white adjustment layer. Okay, black and white right there. Going to add a black and white adjustment layer, and we want to make sure that the leaves layer is on top of the black and white adjustment layer. And I'm going to ask you the question, why are the leaves in color and why is the sunflower, not colored? Why is it black and white? Well, the answer to that is the black and white adjustment layer affects everything from that point down. So it's not affecting the leaves because they are above. They're still on the black and white, but the part that we selected and pulled onto its own layer is above the black and white layer. That's why the leaves are not being selected. Okay? Next, I'm going to use the Burn and Dodge tool. This is number 11. Burn and Dodge tool, which is right now hidden under the sponge tool, to lighten and darken the leaves. Double check that your active layer is the leaves layer or layer 1. So we're going to lighten it up a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to go the other way with it. We're going to burn it. Okay? Now we're also going to use the sponge tool. And I want you to make sure it is in desaturate mode right here up on the options bar and take some of the color out. And really the task I'm looking for from you is can you pick the tool and check your options bar. Okay, and then the final task on the test is to use the zoom tool to zoom way in. Okay. And then do you know to push the space bar down to move around in your view? And then do you know that you can double click the hand tool to bring you out to a full page view? And that's it. That's the test. If you can do all those things, you will get 100.